what essentially um, the hiding of this empire means, and what other various names it has been given in the past. Because this is very much a detective story, like an epic
It
detective
is.
tale. It's not just simply researching an empire that's waiting to be found in books. It's an empire that's been removed from books, and we have to find it and put it back together. So yeah, if you're good at puzzles, this is probably the greatest puzzle of all time. I can't think of any other event like this in history, in modern history, where people have attempted to remove an empire that is so important really to our history and uncovering who we are and where we come from. And almost every other country on earth seems
Yeah.
to have
So heavily
been
documented.
touched. Yeah, and it's been touched, it connected to it, and this is beyond exciting because
Mm.
it means that that you know even if you had all of the knowledge needed, you would still not have been able to do this before the age of the internet. And some of these old books are now being put online thanks to you and your research and your work. Your recent discoveries have been very exciting. Um, yeah, so I was going to start with a few pictures just to get us warmed up, and then you could start. You could maybe read some of your
There's some
current.
pages.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, I think that that's like obviously the most
I'll have to read the
direct.
English. I have got a few translations I could read from ones in different languages. But no, I've got plenty to be reading. Got plenty of
Yeah, I mean,
things
if
to
you've had a
bring up.
chance to translate anything. Um, so yeah, you've given me the one. Again, we are getting some of the letters wrong sometimes. I think when we pronounce the words, because there's some interchangeable words, which is incredible. I've recently found out that even with New York, there's an
Yeah.
interchangeable Y and T. So if you spell York backwards, it's actually I think the K and the T were interchangeable, so York is Troy backwards. So it's almost like somebody's left these breadcrumbs, so we know that New York is the old
Yeah.
York if we spell it backwards, because York and Troy are interchangeable with the letters spelled backwards. So Troy and York, and then New York would be the
Anagrams, yeah, very clever.
yeah the anagram for Troy. So old Troy is then New York, and New Troy, or the second Troy, would be Old York. And of course, Londinium used to be called York. So that's pretty exciting. If you look at it that way, when you read these, we may get some of the phonics wrong because I know I have. Um, so yeah, so sometimes like cities like Afia could be Asia, or so the F could be interchangeable with the S. And sometimes the letter J has replaced other letters too. Especially, I think the J is probably one of the worst culprits because um, uh, the English names for things are usually nothing like the actual names by the native people and the native
Yeah.
languages.
And then another thing with English books, older English books, is instead of lowercase s's, they put f's in place of them. So
Okay.
a lot of words, it's obvious. Like Russians, will be spelled ruffians, and that in that case, it's obvious that it should be Russians. But there's other words when it's
Yeah.
got like a location name, when it's got an F in the name, and sometimes it's hard to tell is it a real F or is it meant to be an S. You know what I mean? So that's another level where you can just get a little bit confused because
Yeah, this is one.
sometimes, yeah,
Yeah, this is a
sometimes
yeah.
you can't tell. Sorry.
Yeah, this is true. I'm just agreeing with you. Yeah. Yeah, so the sound on Zoom, it looks like it does if one person speaks, the other one gets blocked out. But if you continue speaking, it records fine. It can actually record both of us at the same time.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So there's no reason to stop talking just because I'm talking. In fact, we can shout at each other. It's fine.
Yeah, we'll probably avoid that though.
No, no, yeah, 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 yeah. So yeah. Uh, This one you've seen before. We've got the that Russian Moorish hat, which is imitating the Moors, because that's actually what their hair used to look like. And then you've got you've got like an Uzbeki kind of looks like a
Yeah, the garments. Yeah,
fur hat, pointed hat, just like the traditional Berber hats, and then looks like some kind of traditional Lienz Cossack with the large front. What is that, like a cape? I don't know what you call it. But the buttons are also that's the Moorish Empire. The buttons go across the side, each side. That's black nobility. I'm gonna say maybe Gulev, House of Gulev. So there are three empires here depicted here. These are all like Slavs, Cossacks, and the Tatars. So Russia, it's a V, so you have to look at the V as a U.
yeah,
Yeah, and I think you get better at that maybe as time goes on. So you stop seeing so you remember before the 1700s, maybe there was no letter J and the letter V was a U.
yeah,
That goes back to the Latin, which sometimes actually can be taken from the Hebrew. As we know, the Scottish Articles of Independence were written in Hebrew, not in Latin, which
yeah,
once you find out is incredible. I mean, just that one snippet of information changes your opinion of history because we've been lied to so much that we have to look into ourselves and yeah, what you find is just it's a treasure trove of information. This one page. It's a very popular page though. I've seen this one before. So itemic or I'm not sure what that means, but it does mention Tartaria. Tartaria is on the fifth line. And Commentario Topografico Antica. So this is obviously an antique map. It's a political map. Um,
should
Batavon.
translate it now.
Yeah, I can't translate it, but it's obviously official. It's been.
No, I'll translate it.
Oh, sorry, you can translate it. Thanks.
It says Russia or Muscovy and also Tartaria, illustrated with topographical and political commentary, leading from the Elevia Press in the year 1630.
Oh, it's older than I thought. Oh my God. Okay, 1630. Well, yeah, it's early 17th century. Okay. So, yeah, beautiful. I love everything on this. There's a lot of detail. You've got
Look
what
at
looks
the
like,
look above where it says Russia. Look at that face. That was the first thing I was drawn to.
yeah, that looks like the Green Knight or some kind of tree wild man, maybe. It's
Looks
weird.
like he's
Yeah.
got yeah. It looks like he's got horns.
Yeah, there's mysticism there. It's like I actually found out the other day that the mermaids they drew those to be to hide the horns, to hide the devil, so that if you turn it upside down, it's a devil with horns. Yeah. So the mermaids are just hiding the symbolism that they want to hide in the image. Yeah, so it's kind of almost like a man, like stretched out skin. It's kind of
It
weird.
is. It looks like he's got legs. Yeah, yeah. I can see that
Yeah,
totally.
yeah, it's I think the longer you look at it, the more it's gonna kind of communicate.
He's even got a belly button.
Yeah, oh no, I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure what they're doing there. But I think there's also this style of art where nature and human like symbolism is used because the architecture was also based on human anatomy to some extent.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
trying to say that this is, part of that like Renaissance
We
era.
are all the same. Yeah, we are
Yeah.
all the same. We come from the same place. Yeah, animals,
So yeah,
humans, plants alike.
yeah. So it's beautiful to have that. I just want to go through some basics. We didn't mention this before, but the flags of all nations are is uh, a very important part of the record um, of the known and recognized countries before the 1800s. Morocco here has those scissors. Scissors, obviously now we consider that to be stationary, but that's where the pirates come from because the Moroccan or the Moorish Berbers ended up becoming pirates when they lost their kingdom after the Reconquista in the somewhere between the 15th and 17th centuries, depending on which part of Europe we discuss. So the scissors obviously there was a weapon that's not a weapon today, but it's still symbolism for the Moors, for Morocco. Tunis, I think that was part of Tartary. We can agree on that. You have that moon symbolism. If you see the moon symbolism, that's the women's headdress of the day. They were wearing that. Arabia, Jerusalem. But Jerusalem was its own independent state at that time. But looks like that cross is going to be attributed to the Christian faith,
It's like
possibly.
Georgia. It's
Yeah,
like
Templar.
Georgia.
Yeah, so Georgia or Geneva. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's interesting. So the original Geneva was actually the name of California, which was a country too. Yeah. So California used to be called Geneva. Yeah. You got the national flag. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of flags here that are a little bit different than what we are used to, but some of them are still the same. Switzerland's pretty much always stayed the same. The Union Jack's still the same.
Like, look at Algiers. Who's the chap on the Algiers flag?
Oh, geez, yeah, that's interesting. Um, so that could
Wonder
be
who that
Tamerlane
man is.
himself. Yeah, I mean, we could be uncovering something big there because that does look like Tamerlane with the mustache and everything. But yeah, I'm not. I mean, it's not clear enough. But yeah, I mean, but I mean, I think. I mean, how can Frankfurt be a different country than Hamburg? It's just crazy. How powerful was that Central European, what what we call like Austria, Germany, Hungary, when all those countries had their own flag. I mean, those cities had their own flags. Like, how can Lubeck have its own flag next to pirates in Morocco? Like, yeah, we just don't know. I think it's misappropriation. I think all of this is a great reset. Everybody forgets the history, and they maybe Belgium didn't get affected quite as much. I mean, how can Hanover be part of the British Empire? Look at that. That's insane. Like, that's never been in any history book. That's a Union Jack on the corner of Hanover, which means Hanover was under Moorish Go Coburg Gotha rule.
Yeah.
So they still try to keep that connection with Central Europe, and it's slowly being removed. So I don't know what Sweden and I mean that's the Merchant Navy. Is that the British Merchant Navy? So Man of War was part of Sweden. So Sweden was ruled by the British Merchant Navy. Maybe that's the uh,
Yeah.
very powerful very a very powerful country that no longer exists. Um, yeah, I can't think of the name now. Uh, it was to do with trading along the Silk Route. But yeah, again, not something people talk about much. But it's very similar
Yeah.
to the Union Jack. I think it could be the East India Trading
And
Company.
Persia up there. Yeah, and Persia, look at that with a lion.
Yeah, Persia had its own flag. Uh, so Persia's probably quite a new
Like,
country.
yeah, later renamed to Arabia, wasn't it?
Arabia, yeah, and before that would have been the Ottoman and Tartaria before that. So
Yeah.
man of war. I mean, this is interesting. Russia's a country that no longer exists and is often mistaken for being Germany. It was not Germany. It was probably the last remaining Tartarian cities. They also had capitals, and they redrew their maps, and they owned probably most of China and half of Japan. Yeah. Now Sardinia still has the Moor heads on there. Can you see that? So the
Yeah.
center of Italy. Like Italians will never agree that they were ruled by the Moors, but they have four Moorish kings. This is something I've actually already spoken about, done quite a bit of research on. So you have that central two roads, blood of the nation cross, which is today the English cross, but that's a Moorish flag. Half of these flags are Moorish flags. Yeah. But the
The
Prussian
one
eagle
for
is
Prussia there,
very,
if you look in the top left corner, it looks
mm,
like it's got the Crusader cross on the top left corner, doesn't it? Or some sort of cross.
yes, yes, yeah, that's I think cross, that's a like a Germanic cross of strength or something
Yeah.
specific. Yeah. Yes, I think that is Germanic. But many people know that Prussia um, wa was, I think that was a German-speaking country. But I mean, this is like Oldenburg. Like, what's going on here? Mecklenburg is like, I mean, I think these must have been very sophisticated Tartarian cities that justified having their own flag because of their sheer sophistication and the amount of commerce that was being done.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Persia has that lion. Siam is technically maybe I would say Vietnam back then, China. I mean, look at Japan. Japan has literally a Finnish flag. Like what? When did anyone tell you that Japan had a blue, white, blue flag? You
Yeah,
know,
it's a new one.
it's just missing. I mean, every single flag here has something missing. Also, I think this is interesting. There's a Jack, and then there is the Union Jack, and then there is that the 50 states or whatever. So all of that must have been still owned by Britain at that time.
Mm.
But what is Britain? What is Great Britain? Great Britain is back then it was East India Trading Company, Union Jack, Admiral of the Red, Admiral of the White, Admiral of the Blue, and that is very Moorish. That's exactly how they used to
Yeah.
organize their army. They've got the Royal Standard, the Irish, and the Scotch. Now Scotland at that time had a flag that was just looks like some kind of
Like a
yeah,
castle.
that's a castle, just a castle, and they were called Scotch, Scotia. Yeah, the Irish still had their own
I wonder what the
army.
flags are on the. I wonder what the flags are on that castle on the flag.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I don't know if you
Yeah.
can. I don't. Yeah, I don't even know if the internet is going to help. I don't think it will.
No, not
So
on that one.
Papal States. Look at this. It's real medieval stuff. What is that? Ionian Isles. I've never even heard that name before. What's that? Yeah, it's good to look at this stuff. Yeah, but okay. So Tartary very much an empire that uh, connected Eastern Europe to Asia, and you can see by the clothes here. This is pretty cool. This is almost like a turban. Yeah. So the
Yeah,
shield.
it's a very. Gonna say very like Islamic in what would class as Islamic style today.
Yes. Yeah. But the interesting thing is in Europe, if you look at old photos of people arriving, especially immigrants from Germany and Italy, they were all wearing these cowls, these Islamic headscarves. Every single woman. And I always thought that was interesting because we associate that with Islam, with Muslims. Um, but actually, everyone in Europe, every woman was covering their head back then
Yeah.
during the great immigration into the United States. So this could also be European, um, yeah, European fashion at the time. And nothing would surprise me where that's concerned because, yeah, uh, I mean, look at this. Yeah, I mean, so this shield is like a very ornamental sort of kite shield. The shield is very important because I found the shield on a few different sculptures. And so yeah, this um, so he was known. Yeah, he called the wrath of God. So I think Tamerlane may have done exactly what Genghis Khan did, but Genghis Khan was a new character invented to to take that honor
Yeah.
away for those battles away. Yeah,
You
so
know,
he took.
it's funny you say that, Charles, because I was just thinking earlier today, because a lot of my research this weekend, I've come across Genghis Khan, and
Yeah,
the story I was told, and a lot of people were told in school, that Genghis Khan killed, I don't know, a bajillion people. I think it's like 60 million people. Apparently, he killed so much so that he lowered the carbon dioxide in the world. This is modern history.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not making this up. This is what they say happened. But in
yeah,
the countless books that I've read, I've not read anything anywhere like that. And I've read numerous accounts about Chinggis and Tamerlane. And if anything, like you've just said, Tamerlane,
mm,
out of the both of them, Tamerlane was a much more ruthless and violent leader, much more so than Chinggis is, than it seems it's been given the description for. Tamerlane seems like much
yeah.
more of a violent emperor than Chinggis does.
Well, no, no. I mean, I think that you're correct with that. Uh, I think that the people, the real heroes, are hidden, and when you find one that connects, I mean, we're talking here about the 12th, 13th century, which is exactly when the Ostrogoths, sorry, the Visigoths, clashed with the Moors, and I think this was Tamerlane. Tamerlane was the protector of Europe. He had he had to do that job. There was no one else left. I think he failed. Um, I
Yeah.
I don't think he succeeded. I think he had to draw back into Asia. That's why you get those Chinese cities with blonde-haired, blue-eyed children and blonde-eyed and what we call Roman today, which wasn't Roman. I don't believe the Roman Empire existed. I don't believe Napoleon existed. And I don't believe Genghis Khan existed. And if he did, he certainly wasn't Mongolian. And he
And
certainly wasn't.
we can't forget a lot of old accounts also place Tamerlane as the founder of Indostan in the year
Yes.
1400.
Yeah. I think he
Yeah.
had information, knowledge, and a great lineage, and he just kind of like went from landmass to landmass because all of those were connected back then. We had connections between Africa and America. We had connections between Europe. I mean, even today there are connections actually between Europe. It's not all that far apart, and our maps are
Well,
completely
a
wrong.
lot of my old a
Yeah.
lot of my old sources talk about a landmass connecting Siberia or the north of the Asian continent to South America to North America. Sorry,
Yes. Yeah. No.
passable by land. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you get a lot of immigration happening between Europe, especially Europe and Africa, or sort of Africa and Europe. I mean, those dividing lines, those names that we've given these continents, don't necessarily mean that they're not connected. Because people can argue that when the Moors invaded Europe, that Spain became part of Africa, essentially, because they had trade routes and they were being ruled by African kings. Uh, but I do like this. There's a lot of information actually here. He died in 1402. It
Yeah.
also gives us that Mesopotamia, Babylon, kingdoms of Persia, everything was conquered. So we can look at the kite shield. We can look at the shape of the shield. It's very, very symbolic. It is not a normal shield. It's not a Roman shield. It is not a, traditional Chinese form of weaponry. And I found the shield in a lot of places. So Persia, Babylon, Mesopotamia. I think we can connect those to Tartaria. And
But
he was the one. Yeah.
it also appears to be quite exceptionally made. The way that they've got the twists in the bottom of the shield make it looks almost like a parchment folded up.
Yeah, it looks almost like Roman Fibonacci sequence architecture, Moorish geometry, and I think
Yeah.
that's who he was, and I think that's who has who has been removed from history. I love that shield. That shield is going to be really important. Um, this is a good one. Uh, so you see him here. I mean, there's more of like irrigation going on here. Um, and yeah, so. I just love these illustrations, so I put them all in there. I think this is also the same, trying to celebrate the same shield. I think the shield may have acted as a quiver, so I think there's a combination of that technology, especially that just generally the symbolism, and I don't know what the shield meant. I think it could have meant something. I think that shape, that geometry meant something because I also see it in the architecture. Um, and
Yeah.
this has always been attributed with the Roman Empire, but it's not. This is a Jägermann, and again, I see the same, that weird sort of triangular geometry with the floral designs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it looks like that's more like the language. We have this kind of Ottoman, traditional Ottoman helm, which we always see with that generation. Uh, so again, I think this is also maybe 13th, 14th century, and it's the shield again. Now, this one is important because the shield has that curled edge,
Yeah.
which you don't see anywhere else. I've not seen that anywhere else, not in Chinese Qing dynasty, Han dynasty, not in, I've not seen that with
Well,
the
it's worth
traditional
noting
Greek.
as well. Yeah, it's worth noting as well that they look like crescent moons, don't they? And
Yeah, and I've seen those in the
they did
headdresses of the
worship the moon.
Tartarian
Yeah.
women, the noble women. Yeah, yeah. So I'm all about symbolism with this. And again, you have that beautiful turban, which I think we is not just sort of Hindu or Sikh or and I think it was
Right.
brought to
Yeah.
India, yeah, by this empire. But there's a lot of extra stuff because now you can connect those three crescent moons to the those like sashes that he's wearing. He's wearing some kind of fur again, and that beautiful like sultan kind of turban and the mustache. And this is a Caucasus Asian, I would say. This is not a Chinese man. This is definitely not a, this is not a Moor. This is where we come from. Uh,
No, yeah, definitely well of Asian descent. Yeah.
yeah. So Suleiman was also Tartarian emperor of the Turks. We know that Tamerlane already conquered Persia and Mesopotamia and Babylon. So this is like 100 years after he died, and you have people taking up the same shield, the same three crescents. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Completely
Yeah. Yeah.
different century. Completely, yeah. This one I remember because of the shoulder, the pointed. That's an African style defense mechanism. Then you have a traditional medieval. It's called a cuirass that he's wearing. Again, I love that shield.
Rest. Yeah.
Yeah, so Mustafa, this is Sultan. He may have been the one that took over part of Tartaria after the death of Tamerlane. And again, you see that central crest. That crest is where we have to, I think, begin. It's on this as well, the quiver. That's called a quiver, I think. And again, the Sultan. Every Sultan and Turkish person is originates with Tamerlane and Tartaria. That's where we come from, the Aryan people. Yeah, I really like this one. This one's incredible. I think the kite shield is there again. This time it's upside down. I don't know why he's using it. Maybe he's using it to defend against archers. So I think that the Tartarians originate with the Scythians, which means that the Spartans are also on that lineage. But yeah, I just love this one because of the wings. Yeah,
Got, it's
it's
got
just
looks like it's got go
very
back.
pretty.
It's got three legs at the back. Look at
Is that a
that.
deformed horse? Or no, no, no. Sorry, that's a lion's mane. They put the skin on top to help them ride.
Oh right.
And
Oh
also,
right. I
it's
can
kind of
see it
like, I
now.
think it's
Yeah.
flexing. Is he flexing like, look, I've already. And I think he's actually pulled the
I've already.
entire horse's head through the mouth of the lion. You see that?
Oh yeah. What? Look at that. That's
Insane. It's
incredible.
insane image. Yeah, yeah. I didn't realize that actually. That he pulled the thing. I've just worked
I
that
mean,
out now.
if you saw him
You would think
stampeding
twice, right?
towards you, you'd be
You'd be
thinking
like, oh, here
twice.
comes another Tartarian showing off his lion he killed.
I think if you'd seen that for the first time and that were galloping over to you, I don't even think you'd know what it were at first.
No, I don't
It
know how
looked
the
like
horse feels about it.
some mythical creature, wouldn't it? It looked like I don't even know what it looked like running towards you in the panic of war.
It would definitely inspire
And then
fear.
his
And yeah,
and his headrest as well.
yeah,
His
he's got wings.
headrest.
I mean, if you were like a farmer who's never seen a knight, you would think that was some kind of demonic entity or maybe angel that's been sent down from heaven.
They look like owl wings,
Yeah, they do.
the wings of an owl, which is going to
Yeah.
line up with them flags you're about to show us.
Yes. Yeah. So I want to go back to some more simple, basic stuff that we haven't covered that we're kind of presuming people know. But yeah, the Emperor of Tartary. We had the flag on the original flag of all nations during the big, merchant navy era, and this is the griffin and the owl. So actually, the owl just says Tartary, but that would be Tartary Minor, and then you would have Grand Tartary, yeah,
Yeah.
the Empire of Tartary. Interesting. That's in French, though, which means the yeah. So the fact that it's in French, I think that means that the Goths were the Tartarians
Yeah,
defending Europe.
Tartar, the one with the you say minor Tartary, so the flag with the owl might be a European Tartary, and then the one with the griffin or the dragon could refer to the Asian Tartary. Because I've seen
Hmm.
Tartaria Minor in a lot of my books has been attributed to the European side of Tartaria.
Yeah. Well,
So that
when they rewrote our history, they replaced the griffin with a wolf, and they replaced the owl with an eagle. So uh, the griffin was a wolf. So Romulus and Remus feeding on the wolf was actually Romulus and Remus feeding on the griffin. But if you interchange the R with letters that it's sometimes replaced with, it would not be Romulus and Remus. It would be uh, the R is usually interchanged with the B, right? So it's, I guess, Berber. Uh, I don't know, Romulus and Remus. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, I can't. I haven't. Obviously, I'm just kind of guessing here, but there are sculptures, there are images of the griffin feeding to children, to humans, to young
yeah
sons. Yeah, and then the sons of the griffin became the first kings. Yeah, but I think that might be the European Tartary then. But I'm yeah. That's kind of interesting because the griffins could be America, because there
yeah
is the myth of uh, the Queen Khalifa had griffins, fighting for her, and they tried to retell that story with the Wizard of Oz, where the flying monkeys represent the griffins. So there was a story there of all the
mm,
griffins getting slaughtered at the end of when when California, the island, was invaded. I'm not sure if that's America or China. It it could be America and China. I'm not sure. Uh, but
mm,
if I was to guess about the owl, I would say the owl was most likely Europe because we do have that on many old like Scythian symbols. But then you could argue that maybe the owl is America and the griffin represents the European empire. But that does leave out China, which might have been a griffin pointing the other way because there is a
yeah
Tartarian flag. Yeah. But yeah, these are all just theories. So I think we agree that Scythia is the Tartarian Empire, and that
yeah
the connection between Scythia and Hyperborea could be attributed to this particular map here, which I think is quite interesting. This is a Russian map. It's one that I haven't seen before. Um, but in Russia, it is Tartapia or Tatafa.
I have a
Um,
reference to Scythia from one of my books I can read out. No.
yes, awesome. Let's do that.
So this is from the 1707 copy of. It's got to come to me now. Newsman's Interpreter by. The name is lost to me right now. It will come to me. But it says Scythia, a vast country anciently divided into Scythia Europea and Asiatica, the first comprehending the Nomades and Basilides, and uh, along the Borinthians. I'm sorry if I get the pronunciations wrong. Quite difficult words to say. So I'll
Yeah,
start again.
no problem.
Scythia, a vast country anciently divided into Scythia Europa and Asiatica, the first comprehending the Nomades, Brasilides, along the Brithorians, towards the Eugene Sea, and Palus Mateus. Besides Scythia Europea, Pontica, that lay between Myoia, Dacia, Thrace, and the Danube, Asiatica was divided into Hither and Further Scythia, and accordingly distributed between Sumatra and Persia to the west, India to the south, and Tartarian Ocean and Hyperboreae to the north. The ancient Alani, Sehi, and Jaxarai were some of its native barbarians, and this Scythia is now comprehended in the desert and Great Tartary.
Yes, yeah. So the same, yeah, the same empire. So the Tartarians did kind of um try to have an impact. But I think the biggest issue with Tartaria, the reason why um the temptation may have been to remove it from history is that simply because they conquered everything so quickly and weren't able to maybe maintain rulership of
Yeah,
the cities. Um, and I think that's something interesting about Tartaria that they seem to conquer these large areas and then some subsequently lose them uh, as soon as the general or the king dies, and then suddenly it's written into
yeah,
history as a completely different empire. And
yeah,
I don't know if that's people sort of rewriting history or if that's just an inability to manage the colonies and not having a clear central kind of kingdom and just losing the colonies. I mean, obviously China seems to have been, or what is China today, seems to have been the longest standing part of the empire. But how can you rule China if you are constantly conquering other nations? I don't think you're ruling China. You're just the last person that conquered it, kind of thing.
yeah.
Because
Just
because
living there. Yeah,
because if you look at Chinese temples, that's Tartarian architecture. It's not Chinese. The Chinese had no concern, no interest in their own religions, temples, Taoist Buddhism. They were prepared to burn all that stuff to the ground. They had one
yeah,
communist dictator come in, and suddenly they were prepared to burn everything that gave them any kind of identity. They were prepared to burn all their temples. And if you're prepared to do that, it's like the story with Solomon when the two women come into his courtyard and they say, "This is my baby." No, 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 this is my baby. The two women, and Solomon doesn't know who owns the baby. And I think that's the same story with with Tartaria and
yeah,
China. They go into the courtyard and and one of the women says, "This is my baby. This woman stole my baby," and the other one says exactly the same thing. "This is my empire. Someone stole my empire." Right? So one of
yeah,
the two mothers um is crying. The other one's kind of looks like she's not really crying. So Solomon says, "Okay, we're going to cut the baby in half, and you can both have one of the halves of the baby." One of the
mm,
women says, "Okay, fine, cut it in half. That's fair." And the other woman says, no, 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 let her have the child, right? So
Yeah.
you can tell from that that one of the women loved that child because she was the
Yeah.
mother.
Yeah.
And the other one was willing to, as soon as some communist dictator comes up with a new idea so everyone can have one and a half children and can be really wealthy, yeah, okay, fine, let's burn all our temples that are literally thousands of years old. So
Yeah.
you tell me who built those temples? Whose architecture is that? Whose culture? Whose religion? That's not Chinese culture. That's not Chinese religion. That was the Tartarian Empire. And those people who really believed that religion, do you know how much they loved their temples? They were prepared to set themselves on fire.
Mm.
They did set themselves on fire to protect their temples. That's what you do if you really if this is your life, your culture, your history. Yeah. They may have been brainwashed out of knowing the names of their original kings 500 years ago because that's the way, that seems to be the Chinese empire's way. And a lot of other empires seem to do this. Qing dynasty, because it's dynasties really, and they're all prepared to burn and destroy the past to start afresh, start anew, because they're scared that they're going to lose something that doesn't actually belong to them. That's my
Yeah.
theory. And I think when we look at those Chinese temples, they're Tartarian temples, and that's just horrific to not even know what you're looking at, whose empire that is, whose culture, whose religion, you know. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's great. I mean, Scythia, Tartaria, China, Mesopotamia, um, and I believe Dresden. And I'd like to just show you my theory on Dresden. Um, we were looking at that kite shield earlier,
Yeah.
and there's a second part to that theory. So I believe yes, the kite shield was the Tartarian shield. It was a royal, a part of their royal kind of entourage. And I believe that I have found the same shield in Dresden on one of the giants guarding the old city or the inner city.
Yeah.
Now this is just a theory, but you're the first person I've spoken to about that. So I found this again with the Khazars. I mean, we already know, by the way. I think your research has shown